In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 worst dictators in world history. So before starting this video, please like this video, and subscribe to our channel for the future updates. The world has witnessed a number of immensely strong yet people-first leaders whose principles, leadership style, and work are still praised today. Similarly, the globe has seen the worst dictators who have turned into their own country's greatest nightmare, instilling terror in the minds of their own people. According to legend, more people have died under the rule of these dictators in recent ages than have died as a result of natural disasters. Throughout history, dictators have terrorized and oppressed the subjugated. Surprisingly, these rulers are frequently welcomed into government, but their acts deteriorate over time. To preserve ultimate power, dictators frequently employ intimidation methods to compel their subjects to obey them. Dictators are known for widespread poverty and the cruel death of millions of innocent people, in addition to destroying free speech and democracy. Here are the top 10 worst dictators in world history. So let's start. Number 10. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, 1162–1227. Genghis Khan was a Mongol emperor who began his military career at the age of 20 and set out to unite the Mongol tribes with his cruel and brutal ambitions. To deal with the Tatar army that had killed his father, he ordered the execution of all Tatar males who were 3 feet or taller. The Taichiyu tribe was defeated by his military prowess, and their chiefs were roasted alive to death. By defeating the formidable Naiman clan in 1206, he was able to acquire control of central and eastern Mongolia. Other tribes and monarchs surrendered and made peace with him as a result of his victories, and Temujin was dubbed Genghis Khan, which means universal ruler. His soldiers used the survivors of the enemy as human shields in later engagements. He died unexpectedly in 1227, after his tragic glory, however most analysts explain his death to disease. Number 9. Idi Amin, 1923–1928. Between 1971 and 1979, Idi Amin worked for the British Army, Ugandan politicians, military officers, and the Ugandan president. He is dubbed, Butcher of Uganda, by many. During his reign, his opponents, enemies were subjected to jail, torture, or execution, and sometimes all three. During his dictator leadership, between 100,000 and 500,000 Ugandans were killed. He expelled Asians from Uganda, blaming them for the country's severe economic situation and threatening them with economic war. Amin had a heinous practice of murdering individuals by cutting their genitals, limbs, and causing them to bleed to death. He is notorious for torturing and killing individuals in the most heinous ways conceivable. Women were also subjected to severe torture, rape, and eventually death. The most dangerous and vicious leader in Uganda's history, who has become the country's worst nightmare. Number 8. Shaka Zulu, 1816–1828. Shaka Ka Sensingahona, also known as Shaka Zulu, was the most powerful and prominent monarch in the Zulu kingdom. With his commanding power and techniques, he is famed for uniting African Nguni people. After the death of his mother, his harsh control became apparent, and he began butchering his own people. He has ordered his military to kill anyone who is not appropriately mourning the death of his mother. When his half-brothers assassinated him in 1828, his violence came to a stop. Number 7. Vlad the Impaler, 1431–1477. Vlad III, often known as Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Dracula. He was infamous for torturing his victims in the most heinous manner possible, including as impaling them with wood or metal poles that were vertically inserted so that they would suffer and die slowly. This wasn't the only time he indulged in heinous deeds against his victims. He used to hammer drill nails into the heads of his victims, burn them alive, roast them, behead them, and commit a slew of other sadistic atrocities. Although his atrocities were minor in comparison to those committed by previous tyrants, he holds the top rank when it comes to a reputation for cruelty. In 1477, Vlad was assassinated. Number 6. Pol Pot, 1925–1998. Saloth Sar, often known as Khmer Rouge, was a Cambodian politician and communist dictator who led the Khmer Rouge from 1963 until 1997. During his reign, 25 to 35% of the country's population, or roughly 1 to 3 million people, were tortured and executed. He compelled urban inhabitants to labor in farms and undertake slave labor in order to construct a more egalitarian society, and many died as a result of famine, starvation, bad medicine, and executions in which the living were buried. Workers who made mistakes were severely beaten to death or shot, impaled with bamboo sticks, and even hammered in the head. He even ordered the limbs of babies to be cut off. He died on April 15, 1998, from poisoning or suicide, according to rumors. Number 5. Kim Il-sung 1912–1994. Kim Il-sung was the communist dictator of North Korea from 1972 to 1994, and he was the country's president throughout that time. According to historical accounts, he was responsible for the deaths of approximately 3 million people. He carried out the assassination of all commanders and rivals who fought beside him throughout the Korean War. During this period, his administration detained approximately 200,000 political prisoners, many of whom were later killed in concentration camps. He was well known for assassinating anyone who spoke out against the administration, or even for making a minor error such as dropping a photograph of himself on the ground. Number 4. Saddam Hussein 1937–2006. From 1979 until 2003, Saddam Hussein Abd al-Majid al-Tikriti was the president of Iraq, and he was recognized for his authoritarianism, control, and authority. He plotted and carried out a genocide against the rebels who opposed his regime. Kurds, Shabaks, Medians, Assyrians, and other ethnic groups were disproportionately represented. It is estimated that over 2 million people died under his reign. During the genocide, his forces utilized mustard gas and nerve gas, as well as toxic chemical weapons, killing up to 100,000 people. Worst of all, he used to ask his subordinates to torture and record videos of victims for him to view during their dinner break. As a result of his heinous crimes, he is ranked 4th among the world's top 10 most ruthless dictators. Number 3. Adolf Hitler 1889–1945. Adolf Hitler is well known for his Nazi Party and the horrors and brutality he perpetrated throughout his regime. He was a German politician who founded the Nazi Party and served as Germany's chancellor from 1933 until 1945. He was directly responsible for the torture and murder of around 17 million people. He planned and carried out the genocide of the majority of Jews who did not fit his nationalism agenda. Anyone who disagreed with his reign was imprisoned in concentration camps and executed with toxic gas chambers. Jews were the majority, followed by Christians, Gypsies, women, children, and the mentally ill. In the top 10 list of the world's most violent dictators, Hitler is ranked 3rd. Number 2. Joseph Stalin 1878–1953. Joseph Stalin, one of the most well-known dictators, dominated the Soviet Union with terror and agony techniques. During Stalin's reign, millions of Russian civilians died as a result of forced labor, hunger, and executions by Stalin's troops. From 1920 to 1953, Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin was the dictator of the Soviet Union. He is regarded to be the most terrible tyrant in global history, responsible for the deaths of more than 23 million people. Stalin became the Soviet Union's new leader after Lenin's death in 1924. His 5-year economic plan had a negative impact on the country and resulted in a severe famine because he ordered all workers to join the state's farmer cooperative. It is estimated that 3 million people have died as a result of this in Ukraine alone. Those who opposed the farmers' cooperative had their land taken away, were brutally murdered, or were exiled. The survivors were deported to labor centers that resembled Nazi concentration camps. They were forced to work until they died of famine and disease in these labor camps. They dubbed it the Great Purge, because everybody who resisted Stalin was slaughtered. He is ranked 2nd among the world's top 10 most ruthless dictators. Number 1. Mao Zedong 1893–1976. Mao Zedong, also known as Mao Zedong, was the founder of the People's Republic of China and the most cruel tyrant in history. His actions and control resulted in the deaths of 49 million people, placing him at the top of the list of brutality and wickedness. He began policies such as the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward, which resulted in the starvation of around 20 million people. His dictatorship slaughtered between 2 and 3 million people in a methodical manner. As a result, he is ranked 1st among the world's top 10 most violent dictators. Mao Zedong's Great Leap Forward campaign murdered 45 million people in 4 years, making him the most lethal dictator in history. In addition, Zedong initiated China's Cultural Revolution, which resulted in the destruction of priceless Chinese artifacts. Schools were closed and children were taken to labor camps to be re-educated, in ways that pleased Mao Zedong as part of the Cultural Revolution. What do you think of our list? Which dictator do you like from above list? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.